Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have Manish Goyal, who was a data scientist in India and he became a product manager in Singapore-based companies. So Manish, why don't you introduce yourselves properly?
Okay. Hi, Margav. Hello, everyone. My name is Manish Goyal. Currently, I'm working as a product manager in a Singaporean startup, or I'd say like it's a new venture, which is currently running in a stealth mode. So unfortunately, I cannot speak much about it. But yeah, going into my past experiences, I graduated from IIT Kharagpur in 2017. I was enrolled in its 5-year course of mathematics and computing. So it's basically bachelor's and master's. Post graduation, I started working at SAP as a data scientist for 2.5 years.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
and after that, I did a sudden transition into product management in a Singaporean company. I think you might have heard its name. It's called Shopee. So it's kind of what we have in India when it comes to like e-commerce, like Flipkart, Meesho, etc. So Shopee, when I joined, was solely a Southeast Asian e-commerce company, but now, it has diversified into new markets as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you basically told me that आपने data scientist role लिया है SAP में, and you worked there for 2.5 years. So how was the transition? As in, you joined as a data scientist, or did you gradually become a data scientist?
No,
So
so I joined as a data scientist. मेरा academics और coursework तो basically mathematics and computer science का kind of overlap था.
yeah,
And data science was something that I was actually targeting during the college placements.
okay,
So apart from the academics, the college curriculum, like I also, started preparing from, online resources such as like analytics, Vidya, etc.
okay.
Uh, and then, I was targeting that role, and the kind of role SAP was offering was also data science based. It was a well fit, and then I was fortunately selected, and yeah.
So can we dive a bit deeper into the role की actual day to day role क्या था? क्योंकि जब data scientist हम सुनते हैं, usually we have this perception that it would be more inclined to data engineering, not actually developing algorithms on like your own. So how was it?
I see. So I think my experience as a data scientist was a bit different that you would find in most of the product companies. So generally, क्या होता है कि first thing I would say, like, be very focused on the job description, because as you see nowadays, there are some data engineering kind of roles जो data scientist की तरह market किए जाते हैं. So be very careful कि मतलब उसमें क्या क्या work scope होगा, and look out for certain trigger words like data processing,
Mhm.
etc. Hadoop. Of course, like if you're a good data scientist, you should know these things, but then it should not be the primary or the only component of your job scope. So, that's one thing. And to come to the second part of the question, agar data scientist role hai and not a data engineering role,
Yeah.
उसमें भी experience can vary from company to company and from job scope to job scope. For example, if you are a data scientist in HR domain, तो थोड़ा analytics oriented ज़्यादा हो सकता है compared to if you're working in core algorithm domain for e-commerce company. So थोड़ा NLP etc. ज़्यादा लग सकता है. So it can vary, and then it can also vary depending on whether you are a data scientist in a product uh, role or kind of a situation versus compared to mine, which was more of a B2B experience.
Okay.
Uh, so to simplify it further, I was not working on one specific product or one specific domain as a data scientist. मेरा काम ये नहीं था कि ओके ये मेरा स्कोप है, मुझे इसमें ही मॉडल बनाना है और उस मॉडल्स को iteratively improve करते जाना है. Instead, my experience was driven by the use cases that SAP got from its customers,
Okay.
existing as well as potential customers. Uh, to elaborate more on that, like हमारे पास or rather like SAP के पास there were customers across different industries. So each of them had their own unique use case.
Mm.
Uh, if you translate it into a solution, so it would the range would vary from NLP to computer vision to regression, and surprisingly, we also had like most of like many optimization or operations research problem statements as well.
Nice.
So yeah, summing it up, firstly clarify कि मतलब data scientist role है, and उसमें भी try to understand कि किस type का role है, like what you will be working on product है या फिर काफी customer driven है कि मतलब जो use case आ रहा है उसके हिसाब से you need to adapt yourself. Depending on that, your experience would be different.
Yeah, makes sense. So then, how did you decide ki you were a data scientist for 2.5 years, and then you switched to a product management role, and in a different country, in a different domain per se. So what was your mindset?
Yeah. So I think there were some stages to this. Firstly, I would attribute it to the kind of experience I had as a data scientist. As I explained, right, my use cases were dependent on the customer to whom I was catering to. NLP था, time series था, optimization था, regression था, सब कुछ था उसमें. So along the way, right, when you come across so diverse use cases, along the way you started, or I started developing some affinity towards the use cases and the problem statements.
Okay.
Rather than the solution itself. So that was, I think, like one key trigger point. Secondly, मैं टारगेट नहीं कर रहा था प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट में मूव करने का. लाइक आई wasn't even fully aware कि प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट होता क्या है. I just came across it through chance, where I started deep diving into it. So to elaborate on it, like I had a friend and a colleague who was looking for new opportunities overseas, and then he was reaching out to companies, and then he contacted one of the recruitment team person from Shopee for a data science role. But then the person said that, hey, like we don't have a data scientist role, but we do have a product management role, where we want someone with data science experience. And he just let me know of this kind of opportunity. And I got quite interested. I spoke to the recruiter, and then I started preparing for product management interviews. There are like standard few things that I think every aspiring product management does, like namely going through YouTube blogs, reading certain books, like Marty Keegan's Inspired, Hook, etc. So I went through all those channels simultaneously. मैंने अपने दोस्तों को reach out किया who were already into product management space, जिन्होंने मेरा mock interview लिया. And then I interviewed for Shopee. There were a couple of rounds, starting with a managerial round, जहाँ पे like my 2B managers interviewed me on my product sense, etc., and my understanding of algorithms. Second round was with the product leader, जहाँ पे it was more on cultural fit and also on high level understanding of technical topics, specifically related to machine learning and algorithms and NLPs. Last one was engineering round, because of course I think they needed to verify कि मैं जो कहता हूँ मुझे आता है, मुझे सही में आता है कि नहीं. But then I think if I think from Shopee's perspective, it also made sense for them, because the role was actually for its search and recommendation team. So personalization and all those things. And then this role was for recommendation algorithms, product manager for recommendation algorithms, which I think is technical. Like if you're working with people who are working on research and developments, you need to be able to speak the language at least at certain terms, and then build products correspondingly.
So did you meet product managers who were from a business domain in this team versus you who had a technical experience as well? So do you think you had an advantage, or was there a certain push that helped you in your career?
I think my experience did had a lot of influence in their decision, and afterwards it also at the end of the day it was a product management related role. So उनको मुझे evaluate करने के लिए PM specific questions तो पूछने थे. I had like some use cases, for example, how would you design a supermarket, a large physical supermarket, etc., right? So you need to think from customer perspective and also from a viewpoint of related to the role that you're interviewing for. Okay, मैं search और recommendation के लिए कर रहा हूँ, तो ये question मुझे पूछा गया, तो क्यों पूछा गया? So I guess on my part it was mostly luck, and also like thanks to my friends and colleagues like who helped me prepare for this role. Uh, Otherwise, I don't think I would have transitioned into product management because I was definitely not looking for it.
Oh,
Shopee product management was the first product management role that I interviewed for, and it was the first overseas role that I had interviewed for.
oh, so I was about to ask you what all other companies did you interview for and how was, oh,
To be frank, I was actually interviewing for data science roles within India.
oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, I was already in the process of finishing couple of processes and was quite optimistic about it as well. This
Oh,
just came to me by chance, and I explored because, as I said, like during my SAP tenure, जब मैं इतने सारे use cases को face कर रहा था, अलग-अलग diverse use cases across industries, across sectors, मुझे थोड़ा problem statement से प्यार तो हो गया था, right? So I knew like this is something that I could venture into, and I also realized that when it comes to business teams, right, like core business teams, not from technical background, there was also some gap in understanding the applications of machine learning. So, for
yeah.
example, in SAP, we were conducting my team was conducting trainings
Mm,
for some internal employees, or salespeople to help them understand what the fuss of data science is all about.
okay.
Because these are the people who are at the front lines talking to customers or potential customers, discussing use cases at the front level, right? So, एक gap था, मुझे problem statements पसंद आने लग गए rather than solutions. Uh, uh, and then I happened to come across an opportunity. So it all worked out well.
So I've also heard that product managers after some time they tend to go towards being a consultant, while consultants also try to venture into product management if they don't really enjoy the work or they think that the work hours are too long. So do you think there is some similarity between like these domains because people have a tendency to shift?
So I think when I talk about other domains, right? So product management and many other roles have one thing in common. So these roles are actually people oriented rather than hard skills oriented. Because as a product manager, ultimately what you have to do is तुम्हें like सारे stakeholders से बात करनी है, customers के लिए empathy रखनी है, and you need to converge on a decision.
Yeah.
And that decision should not be yours alone. It should take in all the factors and inputs that you have gathered during your discussions with all the stakeholders. So it's primarily a people's oriented role. And then even when you come up with the requirements, right, ultimately engineers तो तुम्हें report करते हैं नहीं. So you don't hold any authority. So what you want is you want alignment.
Yeah.
कि मतलब हाँ मतलब they also need to agree कि हाँ चलो इस पे काम करते हैं, this makes sense. So product manager को justify करना होता है. So it's more of a people's role, but then because product management is also a very cross-functional kind of role, so certain scopes में it can be a bit more technical, जहाँ पे technical experience थोड़ा appreciate किया जाता है. Otherwise, I don't think you can generalize. Like even in product management, you will occasionally come across like business product manager or growth product manager. I think it's a very good or very like likely product management domain which consultants who are looking for us which might be interested in.
Okay, okay. So which part of product management did you enjoy the most? Like, were you more interested in figuring out the problems as you mentioned and making, let's say, PRDs for it? Or were you more on the part of execution where you had to take ownership of the entire project and then get it done basically?
It's not one, it's actually a combination of all. So
Oh,
PRD, writing PRDs, it's part of the process because engineers, data scientists जिनके साथ तुम काम कर रहे हो, they need to be able to see something tangible in front of them and use it as a source of truth while building the solution. Execution, अगर execution नहीं है तो there's no output, there's nothing that you can credit yourself to. So execution is definitely important, and use cases, etc. That is something that was my favorite part because my recommendations में काम कर रहा था. So user empathy, right? Understanding the psychology behind empathy, like psychology behind users thought process जो
Yeah.
मतलब हमारे ऐप पर आ रहे हैं, what do they want, what we had was like उनका past clicks, purchases, etc. हमारे पास वो information था, and then we had recommendation features. अब है कि उसको कैसे relate करके हमें क्या दिखाना चाहिए कि हमारे business objectives meet. So it felt more like a puzzle to me, which I definitely tried solving. Yeah.
That's nice. So once you were in a product management role in Singapore, you worked there
Mhm.
for how long did you work at Shopee?
2.5 years again. Yeah.
Okay. So after 2.5 years, did you feel that, okay, I have worked in Singapore now, and now some other country might be the ideal location for, the years of experience that you had or the growth that you had in your career? So did you ever think some
I
other country
think
would be better than
I
Singapore?
think I was I think maybe initially I was open to it, but then I sat and thought about it. I looked at from a holistic angle कि सब कुछ देखना होता है, like पैसा कहाँ
Yeah.
पे आ रहा है, life कहाँ से, family कहाँ पर है. So at the end of the day, I decided that Singapore is something that I can still explore more. क्योंकि मैं Shopee में जब as a product manager आया था, मैं I came as a new product manager. राइट. मुझे थ्योरेटिकल डेटा साइंस की अंडरस्टैंडिंग थी, और मुझे थोड़ा बुकिश और जो कलीग्स ने बताया उतना प्रोडक्ट का अंडरस्टैंडिंग था. आने के बाद में देयर वाज अ लर्निंग कर्व. इट वाज नॉट वेरी इजी फॉर मी एज वेल टू शिफ्ट माय होल माइंडसेट फ्रॉम सॉल्यूशनिंग पर्सपेक्टिव टू प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट पर्सपेक्टिव. सो वो लर्निंग कर्व था. And then Shopee was my only product management experience till then, right? So I had this realization in mind that uh, like product management experience can also vary from company to company. And since I was in Singapore, 2.5 साल ही हुए थे, so I thought that I think that the city has more for me to offer and to learn.
Understood. So you interviewed when you had an experience of 2.5 years, and it was an overseas opportunity, and then you interviewed again after 2.5 years, so now you had 5 years of experience. So did you feel it was easier to find let's say job interviews, and even like they were more open to your candidature compared to 2.5 years back when you were in India and you had 2.5 years of technical experience? Like, did you feel they were more open to your
तो इसमें मुझे लगता है कि being in Singapore is definitely advantageous if you're looking for more European kind of roles or US or Australian specific roles, because I think in India we have a lot of people, right? So you can assume like many people aspire to go overseas. As a result, there are many applications, and from a recruiter perspective, it's not very possible or feasible to just screen through each and every application. So I guess like the volume of applications that come from India is a bit disadvantageous. But when you come in Singapore or some European country, right? So that in itself is like some level of filtration,
Okay.
which helps you.
Like, did you notice this personally?
No. So from India, Shopee was the only role that I had applied to, and I didn't apply from the portal. I directly reached out to the recruiter and scheduled. But from Singapore, there was a phase, where I was working in Shopee, but I did feel like, maybe I should start preparing for my product interviews in future. So I just I just randomly applied for some companies in Europe and US as well. And surprisingly, I did get calls. I did go through the interview phase, but then at the end of the day, I had this in mind that okay, like moving, just because when I came to Singapore it was a COVID period, right? So so I had this in mind that like I need to be settled somewhere at least for some longer period of time, so it just didn't make sense, so I just opted for Singapore only.
Got it. So what advice would you have for people who are, let's say, at an analyst role in India, and are looking out for opportunities overseas? Like, how would you go about it if you were there?
I would say get back to pen and paper.
Okay.
Data science, data science is a very it looks like a very glamorous role.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you need to have a realization कि एक Jupyter notebook में एक library import करके regression run करना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है.
Yeah.
And if you see the interview processes of good product or good tech companies who are hiring for data scientists, or like, of course, writing code, etc., is one part of it, but then a major part of it goes into how well you understand the mathematics behind machine learning.
Okay.
And trust me, if you think it's just writing, importing a library, and running an algorithm, it's not that. It's definitely more than that. Yeah.
So if people are interested to join your stealth startup, which will soon, reveal the details, can they reach out to
Mhm.
you for guidance,
Yeah, of
reference?
course. Yeah, sure, of course. Please feel free to. Uh, well, I don't know how many openings would be there post like within my company post launch, because it's still at a very nascent stage, you know. But if there's any, I can definitely help people hook up. Yeah, yeah.
That's nice. So you started from a technical, like purely technical role, then went on to a people's role,
Mhm.
in a big based company, and now you are in a self startup. So do you think there's a possibility that you might start your own company after some time because you have a,
I would say that's always an aspiration,
yeah.
but you need to be, or in my case, like I'm very careful that I'm not, running behind the idea of starting a startup.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that, like I have an understanding that अगर कोई idea आता है, which I think is worth exploring, then maybe I would. But मैं अभी बैठ के दिन भर ideas नहीं खोजता, because I think inspiration comes unannounced. It
Yeah.
doesn't come if you're actually looking for it. So yeah, but there's always an aspiration. Yeah,
That's nice. Thank you, Manish, for taking out time to share your
sure.
gyan with all the audience.